Okay, Josh, this is Bruce. I'm doing this via Camtasia for the screen and by my phone for the voicemail because I couldn't get the microphone on my computer to work. Go figure. But as I was swimming today, I had this, I said, brainstorm about trying to think of revenues. And in all the readings I've been doing, I've been investigating joint ventures and all kinds of different ways of charging. And I just tossed this together in about an hour, hour and a half, and I wanted to run it by you to see if you think any of it has some validity or can be used in the future. But basically what I've done is I've taken, I want to see that I think the revenues could be flowing in one of two ways, maybe even three. One way I'll call would be to be called what I'm going to call the user side revenue. And the user side revenue in this particular worksheet is a projection based on a number of factors about what we could be earning off of anybody. And I'm using ClickFunnels as the model here. I try to think what their database might be, how many subscribers they have. And I run this through line by line so you can understand what I'm doing. And then out here to the right, I've got a special model that we can plug in any factor and change automatically to compute for what anyone else that we're trying to do this for. But I wanted to show you just some projections. The user side revenue is this colored section up here, and down below I've got a developer reduction fee. And I call this a developer reduction fee because I think very much like someone who would come in and audit a phone bill or an electric bill for a big company, savings that we can generate for them, I'm going to say we should generate a fee for our value of reducing their developer cost, because that's what this will do. And so I'll run this numbers by you. I wanted to make this quick video within 10 or 15 minutes, maybe not that long, to show you a possible model that we can use. So let's just take this line by line. I'm calling, in the case of Camtasia, they've got two plans. They've got a basic plan and a premium plan. I'm calling the one from Plan A would be at $97 a month, which is their current monthly rate. I didn't do the annual, I just did it by month. And then Plan B, which is the premium, they have a $297 a month revenue stream. So I said, well, if they're close to a $100 million company, that's speculation, how many people would they have subscribed to these? So I just started with 10,000, went up in 5,000 people increments up to 50,000. And then for the premium plan, you see I've got a much smaller database users. I'm guesstimating maybe 15% of what's used up in the, that's why I use the factor of 15% of their plan. Their basic plan might be the premium subscriber database. So in putting these numbers together, this is how it runs one by one. The number of subscribers per plan, I've got 10 up to 50,000. Monthly revenue for each is $97. So the monthly revenue from subscribers would be this, totaling in an annual basis, and I'll get down to the very bottom, almost $80 million. So then I said to myself, well, if we're going to sell this, if we could raise money, and this would be, again, an optional choice. We don't have to make money on the users, but here's the way I planned it. If we were to make, just say $9 incremental, which is about 10%, and we could be much less. I mean, we can make it 3%, $2, $3, whatever. In this case, I use $9. And so if we said incrementally we're going to increase it to the user $9, that would be $106 per month, the 9 plus the 97. So I said the increased monthly revenue would be the database, in this case 10,000 times 9 or $90,000. Then I said, what percentage would we as NMC want to earn for the benefit that we've got this new feature for Russell or whoever it is we have? I just picked randomly 35%. Again, that could be we can change that percentage, but I wanted to use just a rather significant number to see what it would be. So if we said that 35% of the increased revenue was coming to us, I deduct that out from their increased revenue, and that gives you an increased revenue to the client. This is on a monthly basis of $58,000 on up to almost $300,000. So I said the total client revenue with NMC app in place would be this much. It would be literally this original amount, $970, plus the incremental after our fee, or $1,028,000, or about a 6% revenue increase every month. If we chose to use 35%, and this was a factor of $9 added on to $97. Again, all these are interchangeable, and I've got that over here. We can change every single piece on the entire thing, and it would be very easy to change. And I did the same thing for the premium plan. I said, okay, if the database is this, If it's 297, here's what the revenues are currently with that that database and that revenue stream. The incremental increase to the user, I said, well, if it's going to be approximately 3 times 97, let's make it 3 times 9, or about, I'd put $29. Again, always changeable, interchangeable. So if we had an increase to the premium users of $29 a month, the increased monthly revenue would be this. The percentage to NMC, again, 35%. Reduction, increased revenue to the client would be this on a monthly basis. Increased client with our app in place would be here, $473 on a monthly basis. That comes out to be about 6.35%. So what I'm saying is they don't have to charge the user, but if they chose to, we would want a percentage of that because as you get down here, the total user side revenues on an annual basis is quite impressive. So I took all of these up here, and said, okay, the annualized base plan total for the clients without Apify is this, which is simply this 970 times 12. And then I said the annualized base plan total for clients with Apify would be this, 12 million in this case, and it goes on up. Here's the 60, against me, 58, 61 million, it's quite large. And the annualized premium plan total for the client without Apify would be this is the premium plan, this is the base plan, would be this. Bottom line is total annualized plans client revenue without Apify is 16,886 in this case, and with us it would be 18, or about a $1 million increase, 1 plus change, about 6.13% revenue increase on an annual basis with these different client basis sizes. So if he has 50,000 in his base and 7,500 in his premium, he's going to be increasing his revenues by $5.2 million a year, about 6%. From that, we would glean monthly NMC revenue from the user side would be, and then annual would be here and here. So if, for example, he had a 50,000 person database and we charge these simple figures, we would make 2.8 million on an annual basis from ClickFunnels on the user side. The majority of the money, I think, will be, as you, I think, once recommended or suggested, in the developer side. And here's what I would propose, is that we take and get a snapshot of the number of developers that he has on board, or whoever it is, and say, what's the average developer cost if they're employees? And let's just say it's $50,000. It could be much more complicated than that, but I'm raising this for a model. I'm just coming up with a figure that would be used to demonstrate it. So then I tacked on 15%, which are payroll taxes and benefits. That's a pretty accurate figure. So the total monthly employee cost without Apify is these for this kind of a database. And again, I'm thinking if he's got 10,000, this may be too many developers, this may be too few. I just don't know. I'm kind of stabbing this, but it's a model. So in this case, if he had 50,000 people and he's got 50 developers, that again may be way too many. But again, for our purposes, it simply does the computation to show what would happen. So just follow through with me. This monthly employee cost without Apify would be 10 times the 57,500 or $575,000 and on out. Then I would say let's reduce the developers with our our ability to do that. And I said probably 90% could be removed. So we go from 10 developers, lose 9, come down to 1. 15, lose 14, come down to 1. And as the database increased in size, I left a few more app developers in place. But the bottom line is, for example, if he had 50 developers, he could get rid of 45 and have 5. And so then I wanted to show what that monthly reduction in employers' developers overhead would apply. And this is the figure on a monthly basis. Can be quite significant. So then I said new employer developer costs give plus the benefit with Apify would be 1 person at 57.5. Same here, or 2 people is 115, and on out. So this is the new parameter that we have spending on developers. Then I said and we would charge them to do this. I just put 15% in. Again, it could be anything, but this is where our value is going to come in. If we charge a fee for the reduction of the overhead, how cool is that? His total client employer developer costs and our fee would be $135,000 a month versus $575,000. And I show that on an annual basis. The annual client employee developer expense before Apify would be 6.9 in this column. The annual employee client developer expense with Apify and reduced benefits would be 1.6 million. He would recover, his bottom line would be savings of reduced developers by 5.278 million, or about 76%. Could be higher, could be lower, based on what we charge. Again, based on this cost, I'm simply putting a model together that we can use in the future. But that's pretty stinking exciting. If you say to Russell, you know, I can get rid of, if he had this many developers, $26 million, or 76% of your overhead, and we're going to charge you a paltry 15%. Not too bad a deal. So then I said, let's accumulate what the monthly revenue would be for our reduction fee. And in this case, for example, it would be $931,500 a month, a year. That's this monthly times 12. Or if he had that many developers and we saved him to $26 million, we'd make $4.6 million in that regards. So then I said, let's get the total of our monthly revenue for the user side and then the total monthly revenue for the developers in savings. And as you can see, it can be quite significant. Even on a small database, if any of these numbers are semi-accurate, we could be bringing in, $1.4 million with a small database, up to 7.4 million with a large database. And guess what? He wins by having a dramatic reduction in developer overhead, which that's going to happen. And this is a totally optional thing. Charging the user would be, I think, a very smart way to say you can make an additional 6%, and we're simply going to take 30% or 35% or whatever it is the percentage we think is going to be appropriate. And as I say, out here I've got a special thing that says, let's say the database was only 26,400 or 500, and there were only in the premium figures there were simply just say 850 or 875, and his client fee is 97. Amplify increase. Let's just say we only increased it $3, and we kept the 35, and we Amplify increased it $19. Still, in all, he could be saving an additional 8% he could be making revenue 8%. On his users, and for the developer side, he can be saving again 77%. All of these things can be, again, these are all fluctuating numbers. We can put in what we want, and all this thing will compute automatically. So I guess I wanted to just run that concept by you. I think that we need to start, at least I do, that's why I was swimming thinking about this. What would we charge? How can we charge? Is it an incremental dollar amount for the current user? If he charges that, he does not have to charge this. But I think down here, the bulk of the money is to be made on our saving this unbelievable amount of labor, 76%, and maybe even higher. And then we would take a very modest fee, 15%. And again, all subject to changing based on what we felt was appropriate. So that's, when you get this video, take a look at it. I went through it very quickly, but I wanted you to get the feel for my thinking and how I'm trying to formulate in my mind how and where we can go with this. All this is subject to change. All the parameters are subject to change. The format is subject to change. I simply wanted to start from square one and come up with what I thought was a reasonable model. And based on what we found out about ClickFunnels and their possible size, down here at the very big, if they've got a database this size, a $90 million company, which is what I've read, they're close to a $100 million company. Well, we can help them save a ton of money and make a very modest fee, and still, with one client, if the size was that big, we can have revenues rolling in that are quite substantial from the get-go. That's it. Hope this wasn't too quick and fast, but I'll send it to you and take a look at it, and then give me a buzz or send me a note, and we'll continue this conversation. Take care.